We'll be starting in about 60 seconds. I see a bunch of folks logging in now. Hey, Christopher, you ready to get started?
We are, yes, all set.
Fantastic. Well, I'm going to go ahead and kick this off. My name is Mark Kolanach. Thanks for joining us today. Christopher and I are really excited to be able to bring you this content in this forum. We've actually been sponsoring a very successful and well-received roadshow on this topic, and we felt that this would be a great medium to reach a lot more people. So, first of all, thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule, and second of all, I hope you find a lot of value in this. I do want to acknowledge that this topic is pretty near and dear to both Christopher and myself's hearts. It's very central to the pains and success of many of the companies we work with, so we're really excited to talk to you guys about this today. Interesting statistic from Dun & Bradstreet's report from the State of Marketing last year. 100% of companies in the U.S. wanted to grow their revenue. Only 30% did. So hopefully we can help you implement some best practices in order to be part of that 30% of companies that actually grow their revenues year over year. Christopher?
So what we're going to really talk about is we'll do quick introductions, but what are the challenges with the database that you have today? What's keeping you from having that be marketable information, i.e. ones that you can go after, new prospects, and provide the information to qualify leads for the sales team? We're going to go through 5 steps to fix. So this will be a fairly detailed discussion on what do you actually have to do in your database in order to make it marketable. And then during the course of this presentation, if you have any questions, please put them in chat. We'll answer them toward the end. If you want we will be sending out the presentation itself, but if you want the slides, you can either email Yeti at Measured Results Marketing or send that request via chat so we can send it to you after the webinar today. So let's move to the next slide. Let's talk about, we'll do a quick introduction. Go ahead, Mark.
So I'm Mark Kolanach with ReachForce. Actually consider myself to be somewhat of a data hygiene fanatic. I've been in data hygiene for much longer than I care to mention, but really excited to be here and be part of this with Christopher today. And Christopher,
so
my recipe for brisket, by the way. I'm hiding that from you, buddy.
Yeah, so I'm one of those pocket protector carrying scientists. I actually studied physics. Most people don't know that about me, and I can tell you some funny honey badger stories at a later time. But let's jump into the data itself in terms of what your database looks like and how that works. And so as you look at this slide, you'll probably see some words that describe your database. What I want you to do is write down a couple of them that are most applicable. What are the challenges that you're having? What's those 1 or 2 words that stick in your head? Our goal today is really to address what those key challenges are within the fixes that we address going forward. So if we move to the next slide, what we really like to think of your database as is sort of you have lots of contacts, but nobody's home. So you've gone to events, you've acquired lists, people have filled out forms on your site. You've invested a lot of money in these contacts, and you may have 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 or more contacts in your database, and regardless of the marketing activities you do against them, nobody's home. They don't open up your emails, they don't respond. you're really wondering, what actually happened to them. So everything looks great from the surface, but you're not getting the results that you expect. So, what the reality of your database is really this next slide. So, you think it looks like Macaulay Culkin, but Mark will walk through some of the challenges that companies are having when they're trying to manage their databases.
Yeah, thanks, Christopher. And one of the things I would say, just to dovetail what Christopher stated, is that the database challenges are not unusual. That's actually the norm. That's actually what led Christopher and I to work together, put together this content, and deliver it to folks, because frankly, as we get more and more advanced marketing automation systems and more means of digital marketing, people are coming to a more rapid conclusion that their data state is not what they would like it to be. It's more obvious because, frankly, that's the best medium to reach your constituency. Let me tie that back with some of these statistics. Obviously, everyone's changing jobs with greater frequency now. We see that. Gartner states that 22% of U.S. workers will change jobs in the course of a 12-month period. Marketing Sherpa, 30% of email addresses will go bad in a 12-month interval. These are big numbers, but one of the things I would have you stop and look at is this can widely vary from industry to industry. So, for example, if you're marketing to marketing people, they're going to change at about a 40 to 50% clip. Salespeople, 50 to 60% rate. But if you look at someone who's marketing to state and local government, federal government, you'll see probably a 3 to 5% atrophy in that data. So while it can be extremely high, up to 60%, it can also be lower depending on who you're actually marketing to. You think you have Macaulay Culkin from Home Alone in your database, and really it's today's Macaulay Culkin, right? Not exactly what you were hoping for and not exactly what you thought you had, but not a visual that any of us want to have, but unfortunately the reality of marketing databases today.
So now we're really going to talk about the end state that we're trying to get to, which is, how do you make the database marketable with confirmed data, match the information in terms of qualifying people who you want to follow up with and be customers, rather than chasing dead leads or people who will never be customers of your organization. How do you use that to score and route them? The other parts are really for marketing of people have a very high expectation in terms of personalized email, understanding their pain points before you communicate to them. So how can you collect all of that information so that you are effectively running campaigns and driving the results? I think the other part, and it's a large challenge with companies we work with, is junk and duplicates, where it's a salesperson looking at the same record for the same person, and it's in the database 4 to 5 times, and they are trying to figure out what data to update and which one is a lead or a prospect or an opportunity. How do you save that time on the front end so that you're not wasting a lot of sales time and sales resource? And how do you own that database and manage those contacts rather than having them sit and laggard and not understand, of the 250 or 300,000 contacts that you have or more, which ones are actually marketable and which ones have a potential to turn into ROI or revenue for your company. So we'll then move to sort of, Mark talked about a number of the causes, but we'll really address these ones specifically. The decay of your databases, how to solve for the issue of, you did a webinar, you did an event, you went to a trade show, there was an automated email response to individuals, and then nothing happened for months and months. What happens to them in a CRM system where they were marked as nurtured, not ready, disqualified? How do you revive some of that? Ones that, hey, this is great that you have information, but the information is either bad or missing, so it's not of any value to the organization because you can't contact them. And then ones where they may visit your site and have an IP address, but there's interest from an organization, but you never really knew either who the organization was or who the individual was who had interest in your offering.
So there should be a poll on the right here for folks to answer.
So what I guess it's actually showing the poll. It's showing the poll on the screen. Hopefully everyone can still see the presentation. But the slide up is really showing some of the main challenges.
You have to poll, Christopher, before they can see this screen.
Got it.
So we'll give that another 6 seconds for the poll. 5, 4, 3, last call, 2, 1. Back to you, Christopher.
Thanks. So really, it seems quite an onerous task to sort out, to sort of fix your database. I think, a famous quote that most of us have probably heard: "A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step." In our case, it also starts with a lot of coffee. So, who do you think, in that list, to the left, originated that quote? So if you guessed Justin Bieber, you're wrong. You probably wish he said something like that or added it to lyrics of a song. If you guessed Mother Teresa, you're pretty close. She has a quote that's very, very close to that one. But it's really Lao Tzu that is really the initiator of it. So what we'll do today is really walk you through, what step by step, how do you go through your database and get it from the position that it's in today to one where you really have one that you can market to and qualify leads against. So we'll start with the fixing steps, which are 1 through 3, determining what data you need, evaluating your database and cleaning it up. And then once that's done, how do you really take advantage of that data and then prevent it from getting into the state that it's in today? So the first thing is really determining what data is required. A lot of organizations really don't do this in the first place. And this is figuring out, from a marketing standpoint, what information do you need to effectively market to someone and communicate? Do I need first name, last name, title? Does your company only work with specific industries? Is there a specific decision role in company size? I think this is also important to disqualify companies to say if a company is too small or too large, this is really information that we need to collect so we know that we're not wasting time. Some of the best-in-class companies also want to collect data beyond what's available in a purchase source. So this is pain points through progressive profiling, looking at behavior they have on your website and things they download, true personalization, and then doing predictive messaging in terms of, what information can you understand about their needs and pain points so that you can message to them directly. So the first step is, without looking at the data you have in your database today, figuring out what information is absolutely essential to collect in order to validate and qualify leads. Understand that, as well as what other additional information that is nice to have, or things like if they do these activities, they're much further down in the sales process, so I want to collect that and have some sort of alert to a salesperson to follow up. So if you look at the line at the bottom, it's really, the essentials are information to contact someone. As you go up the line here, it's really, how do you either include or exclude people based on their behavior and other data you can collect. So if we move on to the next slide.
Yeah, and I'll take it over here, Christopher, and talk about an example of how Hortonworks actually accomplished exactly what you're talking about, right? So they moved beyond the essentials into the refinements and into best of class. Basically, they had what most marketers would consider to be a fantastic problem. They doubled the size of their sales team, doubled the amount of inbound they had, but unfortunately they ended up with what you see at the bottom left, a muddled mass of leads. They had all this information, and they had to manually remediate those leads to basically figure out the organizations, the company size, figure out the proper lead routing to the salespeople, also doing the scoring in a manual fashion. So basically what happened is they brought us in to help them with that. You can see on the bottom, this is a sourced from a Marketo-sponsored webinar, so that's actually available as a recording. If anyone's interested in seeing that, I can share that with them. But basically what they did is they wanted to segment by use case, so they wanted to know location, vertical, and then obviously behaviors and life cycle. So if you look at location and vertical, those would be the refinements from the last slide, and then the next two would be the best in class. So they're able to move to that. Based on those refinements to their process, they're actually able to achieve a 47% conversion rate for their top targeted campaigns and increase their lead routing accuracy by 43%, both of which were very substantial increases over where they were before and very enviable results for the marketplace. So how do they do that, right? So it's very simple, very straightforward. They actually implemented Reach4 Smart Forms, and what we did is we were plugged into their website and enabled a lot of success for them. So if you look at this form, you'll see first, last name, company name, email address, standard information you'll put on an inbound form. So basically, once you put that information in and click submit, and I use Phil Fernandez, CEO of Marketo, because they're obviously one of our customers. Once you click submit, you'll actually see a list of possible companies that you work for pop up. Once you select your organization, that form is going to do what it's always done. Thank you for registering for the webinar. Here's the link to download your white paper. A sales rep will be in touch with you, whatever the case may be. But in the background, what's happening is we're actually appending almost 130 fields of demographic and firmographic data.
So this is really the way, from a marketing perspective, to ask clients a lot fewer questions and get more information that you can use to segment against them. And so the standard is 5 fields or less is really where companies are seeing a larger conversion rate from form completions. You can see here in terms of only requiring name, email address, and company, and then to the right, this is only a subset of the 138 fields that are available. So it not only provides firmographic and demographic information, it provides information from tools like Datanyze to see what software someone has, what they're using, and so you can really do much better segmentation against leads for ones that are both net new who are completing forms, as well as appending data in your database to have this set of information against your contacts, making it a lot easier to do marketing rather than trying to rely on additional fields for not only segmentation but also routing or lead assignment to the sales team.
Yeah, and one of the things I would add to that, Christopher, would be the fact that when you're asking folks for a lot of different data elements, I know I'm probably the most guilty of this of anyone. When I'm trying to get to a white paper or a webinar registration, they ask me my company size, they give me a bunch of options. I just click through arbitrarily. I don't necessarily care about giving them the correct information. Alternatively, some folks don't know, right? They don't know how many employees are in their organization, or they don't know the proper vertical to assign their company to. So really getting that verified data provides a tremendous benefit because it eliminates that bad data being input on the front end.
So what we'll talk about is sort of the insights that you get from it, and this is really the other thing that having this type of functionality in a form allows you to do is more progressive profiling in terms of if you already have the person's first name, email, company name, or your database is incomplete today, you can add a company field to that form as well as their email address and validate that information and augment that when they respond to one of your offers. The other piece is it allows you to do a lot more information in terms of progressive profiling. So this is the example from Marketo, but for us as an organization, it's important to know what marketing automation platform someone has, what their largest marketing challenges are, and so we can focus on adding that additional information to better categorize and segment and understand if someone is a real prospect of ours, rather than having to ask them in the progressive profiling some of the basic information like industry and location for routing to their sales team. So you can see this is a simple explanation of progressive profiling, but now that you have this information, you're able to then ask these additional questions. If you don't have basic firmographic, demographic information or what software they use, it's just a matter of adding a company field to a call to action or a download or a campaign you're running, collect that information and add it to your database, and then you're not having to add it or ask for it in other correspondence. So really, one, it saves you a bit of time. Two, as a marketer, it's great because you can really understand pain points and gather additional information. And three, from a salesperson perspective, you're able to either qualify or disqualify companies quickly based on information that's provided, rather than having to guess or have a salesperson go into LinkedIn or Dun & Bradstreet or another database to try to figure out, is this really a target customer for us or not? So the next part of it, so we've now figured out the data that we need. We've collected a set of it. We've sort of set up our forms and understand what are the questions we ask. The next step is really looking at our database. I think for most companies, really downloading a set of your database into Excel, I think most of us are pretty comfortable with that tool. Sorting columns and seeing, are there a lot of blanks in city, state, industry. You can really look at your database manually in some instances, or a sample of it, to say, yep, this is no good, or I'm missing critical information that I need. Here's sort of what's missing. Have I sent them? When was the last activity? Sort of should I is, what campaign actually generated that lead? And then, are they a customer? Do they buy a product or service, or do they have that interest? So there's a much more automated way to do this evaluation that Mark will walk through. But your next step is to understand of the contacts that you have in database, which ones actually have information you can segment on, which ones are missing that. Those ones that you're missing are really lost opportunities to market to them or segment them appropriately, so you get much higher response rates. So I'll have Mark walk through some of the evaluation and what that looks like from an automated fashion.
Yeah, and the things that jumped out to me when you walked us through that, Christopher, was quality and completeness, right? The completeness of having the fields you need in that database, not only to reach that contact, but also to segment, personalize, correctly lead, route, and score. And then obviously quality beyond that, making sure that that's the right data. It's not just data filling a hole. Like they say, bad data that you believe good is worse than no data at all. Now here is a sample of the must-have view you need on your database. So one of the things we do here at ReachForce is help people evaluate the current hygiene of their database. The way we do that is a data quality survey. We'll basically take a subset of records from your database, anywhere up to 300,000 records, and run them through our proprietary matching engine to see what level of completeness and quality you have in your database. One thing I would mention is that we license and curate all of our data, so we have confirmed, verified data versus screen scraped or crowdsourced. So you're going to get very, very accurate results with our survey. The first thing we do, if you look at the summary, is we're going to take your total records, figure out what percentage of those we can improve, and then determine what percentage of that is marketable. We'll also identify duplicates and junk, and then also evaluate email quality. So basically the deliverability of email. We also flag your generic and ISP email addresses to ensure that you can decide yourself whether or not you want to market to non-corporate domains. The next from there, and I'll go left to right on this data quality survey, is we look at your data to ensure that you have the best representation of what benefit can be achieved by cleaning up your database. So you'll see the first column, original accurate. That means what you have that's 100% accurate. From there, what we can improve, that means you have something, we can improve that value. And then the next column you'll see means that's the data that we can append. Basically, where you're missing data, we can append Again, verified and confirmed curated data for you. And then lastly, we'll provide you a nice little graph. This will actually allow you to go back to your management team and say, look, here's the delta gap between what we have and what we need. And you can actually walk them through visually what benefit could be achieved by actually cleaning up and addressing the data hygiene of your database. So this is my favorite slide. Christopher laughs at me about this. So we look at the value of verified data versus free data. So if you look at the left graphic, this is actually, I'm a little bit of a NASA nerd, right? So this is the Juno Jupiter mission. So basically in 2011, we launched the Juno probe. In 2012, they made 2 course adjustments to that probe. 2013, it used the Earth to slingshot itself to 16,000 miles per hour, and then 4 years later, it neatly pulled up and dropped into orbit around Jupiter. So they took into account solar winds, gravitational pull of other heavenly bodies, etc. And basically, this thing chugged through space for 4 years and dropped into orbit. So I think that's pretty impressive. Obviously, they weren't using almost data. They were using accurate data. Now, if you use free or almost data, you can end up like the movie Armageddon. Granted, they stopped the asteroid, but NASA does use that movie as basically a case study for scientific inaccuracies. There's at least 168 of them in the movie. As much as I love it, I wouldn't use it to plan my next probe launch. Christopher, back to you.
Yes, now we really talk about cleaning up the data. So we've really walked through, identifying the data you need, evaluating, the state of your database, and how good is it, and how many lost opportunities there are with leads. Now it's really figuring out how you want to clean it up. So there's a manual approach to this process where it's normalizing fields, downloading your database, really doing that grunt work. And depending on the size of your database, the sophistication of your organization, that manual matching or validation may work versus an automated process, both in terms of collecting the data, understanding what's missing in terms of fields, and augmenting that data either in your database itself on a regular basis or doing a regular cleanup on a quarterly basis to understand what fields are present, which ones are missing, and the accuracy of data such as email address, phone number, the actual individual contact, are they still with the company? And so I would say, depending on company size and number of clients, sometimes a manual approach works if it's a small number of target accounts, making sure that's right. I think that the automatic, when you have a large volume of leads, you have a number of individuals that it's important to understand, I should say, a large number of individuals in an inside sales or sales capacity, getting that data right and having it automatically updated in that fashion allows you to segment, automatically add them to campaigns, and really keep your database clean over time, not even beyond just that initial cleanup period. Let's so let's take the stage that now your database is clean. So what do you do now? Like how do you take that? So if we look at the next slide, Mark.
Hey, Christopher, we had a poll. Vanessa, if you could launch the poll. Yep. And we'll give you 10 seconds on that. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Click the poll. 3, 2. Last call on the poll. 1. Poll's closing. Step 4, Christopher.
Good. So yeah, I see the if you can end the poll here. So it looks like most of you want to manage it continuously. So as we sort of look through this process, now that the database is clean, how can you really make sure that you manage it over time? So this is a screenshot from Eloqua, but it shows a re-engagement or re-nurturing campaign internally for ourselves and clients. We call it Bring Back the Dead. So these are contacts who we haven't heard from in a long time. It might be 6 months or 8 months down the road. We've done some sort of cleanup and validated that the information we have in our database is not right. We now have the correct information. So how can we re-engage more of that database and understand if they're marketable? For us, we have some nurturing flows that we put individuals into to see if they're really live contacts or still see if they have an interest in our product and services. If they do, we see a level of engagement in terms of email open, visit website, download a piece of content. In some cases, these individuals, even after trying to nurture them for a 2 to 3 month time period, we don't really have any activity or follow-up. So those individuals naturally fall out of our database in a quarterly clean. So the second part of this is this re-engagement campaign is also used for individuals who, let's say, attended an event. We met them at a trade show. This was a list of individuals, or we worked with a partner on. We automatically put individuals in this flow once we haven't had any correspondence with them in a specific time period. So this not only helps from a marketing perspective to keep them warm, but it also helps us quickly understand what contacts in our database are good that we can count on and use a conversion rate and try to predict pipeline of revenue against how many active contacts we have versus the entire universe of contacts, many of which may not have any interest or have any other activity. So this is a way to both re-engage people who have not been active for quite some time, but also look at individuals in the database who we've recently engaged with. It's been a month or so where we haven't spoken with them. We can then re-engage them just like someone who was dead in our database that we hadn't heard from for quite some time. So the last part of this process is really, if we move to the next slide, is really how do we prevent bad data to getting into our system? And I'll pass it back to Mark.
Yeah, and so the big thing at the end of the day is, number one, making sure that bad data doesn't get into your system, or number two, when it does, bypass Angus the bouncer, that you have a way of remediating it. So obviously prevention is the best cure. I'm actually going to address the question of manual versus automatic in this step as well. So obviously gratuitous product promotion. ReachForce has smart forms, which we showed you earlier. Basically what that allows you to do is do the enrichment and the hygiene management on the inbound. So we're actually going to go ahead and make sure you have all that demographic and firmographic data on the way into your system, so that at the point of lead inception, regardless of marketing or Salesforce automation system, we're completely agnostic to that. You will have all those data elements you need to basically accomplish everything that Christopher walked you through today. The second level of that is our continuous data manager, our CDM solution, which actually sits inside your database and manages delta change records. So as you list load, as salespeople enter leads, as anything happens within your database, we're actually going to go ahead and maintain your database in an ongoing manner. And in addition to doing everything we talked about earlier, we'll also go ahead and do a number of other things in there as well. So it's a really neat solution. Christopher likes to call it Angus the bouncer, and that would really be prevention for your database going forward. So Christopher, do you have anything to do with that? I think the next thing we'll do, we have a poll quickly on complementary data quality assessment. We'll do that for 10 seconds for a yes or no, and then from there we'll move straight into the Q&A. So we will go and do probably another 7 or 8 minutes of Q&A, and then from there we'll drop off and give everyone 20 minutes of their day back. So the poll's open. What? 4, 3, 2, 1. Great. So now we're here. We're going back into Q&A. Vanessa, do you have questions you want to hit us with? Christopher, can you see the questions in here? So let me see what our first question is.
I don't hear Vanessa on audio. Let me make sure that she's unmuted.
Okay, let me look right here.
Mark, I do have one, and I have one here in the top of the chat. So how do I know that the quality of the data is any good? So how can I evaluate the quality of data presented with tools like ReachForce or other tools?
That's a great question. So one of the things we do, and this is fairly unique to us, we actually license our data from a number of different data aggregators. We actually have nearly 10 aggregators that we work with, which we consider best in class. Obviously, the top ones that we mentioned, Datanyze earlier, Dun & Bradstreet is considered the gold standard. We start with that data, and then we add data from additional sources to increase the breadth and depth of the data we offer. And again, based on the fact that we're licensing that data, it is the best data available in the marketplace. We also do have some screen scraped elements that we include in there if folks are interested in using that, just because we've had folks that were pretty committed that they want to see that data, but we really trust in our curated data. So I see another question here. Do we get the data in real time? Yes, with smart forms, that data, and Christopher, you see questions, you can jump on that. The data in real time, yes. So as I mentioned with smart forms, that data would be appended to the inbound lead. So at the point of lead inception in your marketing or Salesforce automation system, you get that data there.
I have a detailed one. Someone's asking, title is the biggest consideration for us in terms of segmentation. I really don't see that on the list of what's available.
That is a great question. Actually, at this point, we don't have that data available. One of the things we found is that contact level data, again, does atrophy at a rate of about 30% per year. So we've focused on that company demographic and firmographic data just so that folks can have that correct data for segmentation, as opposed to having data that we provide that would end up being incorrect in very near term. So that's an element that we would recommend you confirm with somebody to ensure that we have, number one, the right data available, or number two, they didn't achieve a promotion when either their boss left or they just moved upstream real quickly. Questions. I see next question. Let me scroll up. What's the title? Support data. Yeah, we have a global database. Our database is about, the question was, we have data for countries outside of the U.S. Yes, we actually have, our database is about 225 million records, and we have a strong global data set. So question was, how does a form filler manage a contact from a company with multiple subsidiaries locations? That's actually a great question. So since we do license the D&B data, that's the only data source available in the marketplace, and this is a big reason why we chose to move forward with them, that has the multiple levels of hierarchy. So as we mentioned on the slide with the difference between what you see and what you get, we actually can provide you up to 4 levels of hierarchy in addition to that Datanyze data. So when someone is asked to self-select from their smart forms, we actually are going to look at inferred geolocation elements such as city, state, country based on their IP address, as well as explicit elements they provide such as the area code on their phone number, and we'll actually get a good idea of where they're sitting. So if they have, and the example you used was Johnson & Johnson, if they have a jnj.com email address and they list their company as Johnson & Johnson, we actually have the office location down to the regional offices, so they can actually self-identify as being part of that local office. Now, the benefit to a marketer is the marketer knows where that person is sitting geographically. It allows them to target them for location-based campaign events. The other side of it is the 4 levels of hierarchy allows you to map up to not only the domestic but the global headquarters as well. So for purposes of lead routing to salespeople, typically that's based off of headquarter location. We can actually go ahead and route the lead correctly while giving the marketer the information they want as well. And we'll also actually, interestingly enough, provide you the number of family members within that family tree, so you can actually look and see how many organizations fall underneath that Johnson & Johnson umbrella. Any other questions that you see, Christopher? Looks like they're pouring in now. I'm having a hard time keeping up.
Yeah, there's a few more that are just entered. Just give us a moment here. Let's we'll scroll through those and answer them.
So I see one about HubSpot. Does HubSpot
I have
offer smart, right?
Yeah, so I think, so that's really, yeah, so HubSpot does support smart forms. We're actually a partner of ReachForce, and we do the configuration within that tool, but that the software does support the smart form functionality. Mark, I'm seeing also a question about what happens if a company has contacts that are from multiple subsidiaries or locations. How does that work?
So can you read me the question, please?
So how does smart forms work for a company that has multiple subsidiaries or multiple locations, i.e. Johnson & Johnson?
So that's a great question. So what you would do is you would either implement, so that's a great question for you as well, Christopher. So basically we're going to provide the elements for the local office as well as the headquarters level. And that's actually where Christopher and his team come into play really well, because when you want to build out that family tree structure within your marketing automation system, there is a little bit of effort that goes into that. Do you want to talk to that, Christopher?
Yes, I think that the database looks at the IP address of the person filling out the form. That's really the prioritization for what gets populated in terms of match data based on something that a user enters. It also has global headquarters, U.S. headquarters data. So it's really figuring out, what address or what physical locations you want to target for an organization. So if you want to target Johnson & Johnson globally for global headquarters, do you want their U.S. headquarters, or you're trying to get into a specific department in a specific state, all of those can be configured to, be added to your marketing automation tool and past your sales CRM, but you have the flexibility of, targeting the corporation, targeting the regional or U.S. headquarters, as well as the location that the individual who completed the form from. So it allows you a bit of flexibility from that perspective based on the data that's collected through this tool. And there was a similar question about lead and contact information.
Yep.
Hopefully that answered that.
And the next question, how does this help my ABM efforts? Account-based
So I think, so account-based marketing, it's really, if you have a set of target accounts, the way that it helps you is getting additional contacts and additional locations for that target account. So if another individual from a global company fills out a form, you'll know based on their IP address and the location that they select, where that individual is. So it'll help you get additional information, and based on your account-based marketing strategy in terms of more individuals in the context of an organization. It'll also help you in your database if you don't have all of the information about that location. The other pieces are there's some additional data. We use things like what marketing automation tools someone has, what CRM they're using. Datanyze as part of this append has a lot of good information about software. So from an ABM perspective, it actually gives our sales reps more information to be able to talk to and understanding the company's overall infrastructure rather than just the basic information you get from a list from an event or using a source like a Dun & Bradstreet that'll just tell you industry, size of company, and revenue.
Yeah, and something I would dovetail on top of that, Christopher, is the Datanyze data that we have available. So if anyone listening is not familiar with Datanyze, basically it's an organization that touches websites on a nightly basis and looks for exposed technology. So you look at marketing automation, web balancers, help software support, anything that can be seen via that website that's exposed from behind the firewall. So if you look at tech companies, our smart forms are extremely popular with tech companies because we actually enable them to look and see what technologies are already in place. So for example, we actually worked with an online video player company recently, and there's 42 different online video players available. But as leads are entered into their system, we can actually append data on what current online video player is being utilized on the website for the individual that is submitting the lead. Kind of scary stuff sometimes, how much data is available out there if you're really determined to be successful and crush your competitors.
Yeah, I'm starting another one. Well,
go ahead.
Can I, Mark? I see one. This is a. Well, I'll answer it partially, but I think I can respond with it better. But if a contact or account is removed from a database, how do you prevent that from coming back in another import lead sourcing effort? Basically looking for global data. So I think the answer to that is you can have an exclusion list for for companies that you don't want included in your database to prevent someone that completes a form to be put back in. So you'd really manage that through an exclusion or a suppression list. You can also, if you know specific criteria of types of companies that you don't want to do business with, and that meets a set of criteria in terms of revenue, geographic location, size, industry, you can actually build suppression rules or business rules that allow you to prevent those types of companies, along with the specific ones you don't want included, from being added to your database.
I see a question here about pre-existing data in the database. So, for example, I have pre-existing data in my database. That would go back to that Angus the Bouncer / manual or automatic question. We can actually go into your database and update, enrich, and confirm accurate the data in your existing database. The manual option would be for you to go in record by record, go through that, or basically hire some interns and have them go through if you chose to do that. What else?
There's a specific one about medical, Mark, but I think we can answer the other ones offline. I want to be conscious of time. That someone was asking about MD, RN, PhD in terms of, do you have credential information such as someone being a nurse or doctor in the database?
So I saw one other. I'm actually looking at one other question. So no, we don't have information about the contact level, personal accomplishments. We don't have MBA information either. I noticed a lot of people append that onto their email signatures. So what I would recommend is that when you get an inbound email, you would actually just manually go ahead and remediate that into your database. Whether they put MD, RN, MBA, whatever, you can put that in that way. Again, that'd be more of a manual process based on you going through and just kind of evaluating those leads. Another question I saw, I'm looking at right now, is information for colleges on number of students in a college. So that actually is information we don't have. We have revenue information. We have number of employees. I actually just went through this with a prospect last week. So we don't have the number of students, but we can give you all of that other information, the standard demographic, firmographic data. Another area that we get asked about infrequently, but every once in a while it pops up, is medical network. So, for example, if I want to know what medical network a doctor's office belongs to, that's information that we don't have as well. Just a couple different elements of information that are so specific to that type of organization that we don't have that information. So that being said, Christopher, you called it. We're done answering questions. We can follow up on these one-on-one. And I see the last one I saw was whether or not we had Latin America, South American information. Yes, we do have. Again, our database is global in nature, so we do have information for Latin America data, company verified data for Latin America. Well, I appreciate everybody coming today. Thanks for your time. We're going to drop off. A little bit of housekeeping. You'll see my email address on the screen. Go ahead and grab that. If you have any specific questions, you can shoot that over to me or Yeti at measureresultsmarketing.com. Obviously, if you wanted to get a copy of the slides, if you didn't put it in the chat, just email me and we'll get that over to you. Thanks, everybody, for your time today. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.